بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, respected elders and young students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce one beautiful organization that is doing great work. They are known by the name Muhsen. Muhsen is the one who is doing ihsan, the one who is doing good. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to be among the muhsineen, those who do good to others. Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsineen. Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who are muhsin, who do good for others. And muhsin is spelled M-U-H. In Arabic, of course, the mim, ha, sin, nun. But this is the name of an organization which is an acronym, M-U-H-S-E-N, which are Muslims for the understanding and helping of those who have special educational needs. So this is one segment of our society, those who have special needs, whether they are young children with autism, whether they are our senior citizens, those who are now physically challenged, those that are mentally challenged, those that have special needs. This is one segment of our society that we sometimes do not give them the full attention they deserve, the full love and inclusion that they deserve. In this organization, Muhsen is creating awareness regarding them and how we can ensure that they feel welcome in our masajid, in our programs, with regards to accessibility, with regards to the different facilities we have. And they're doing tremendous work in this regard. So there are a few points that I would like to share to create awareness regarding such people that are specially gifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with these tests. Number one is for us to understand that health, this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that those who are enjoying are receiving from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no way we earn this, there is no way we deserve this. And those that are suffering physically or mentally or otherwise, they have different challenges. This is not a sign of the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This by no means means that they are despised by Allah, they're hated by Allah. This is a punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But rather, this is also a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala idha ahabba qawman ibtalahum. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves someone, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests them. Some of our Muslim families are tested themselves, and some are tested when they have loved ones who are undergoing these difficult conditions. If a person has a child who is suffering from physical problems or mental issues, then this is a great, great test and trial for those parents. So it is a trial not only for the individual who is suffering, but also for their near and dear ones. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves someone, He tests them. فَمَنْ رَضِيَ فَلَهُ الرَّضَى. Whoever is pleased with the decree of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with that individual. وَمَنْ سَخِطَ فَلَهُ السَّخَطُ. And whoever is angered by the decree of Allah and objects against the decree of Allah, then they will earn the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to remember that we can never look down on such individuals and think that we are better than them in any way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The noblest amongst you in the eyes of Allah is the one who has the most taqwa. Not the one who is most physically fit. Not the one who is most handsome or most beautiful. But rather the one who has the most taqwa and most fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's one hadith that Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he asked the companions who were sitting around him, أَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى إِمْرَأَةٍ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Should I not show you who is one of the women who is guaranteed Jannah, who is definitely going to go in Jannah? So everyone was surprised. Who is this woman you are referring to? Then he said, there was one old woman who just entered the gathering and was passing by. Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma said, this woman is 100% guaranteed Jannah. And obviously no one is in a position to guarantee that on their own. So they were very surprised by his remark, and they asked him, how can you say that, oh Abdullah bin Abbas? He said, the reason I am saying this so confidently, making this statement, is because many years ago, this woman was very young at that time, and she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, I suffer from epilepsy, and I have epileptic fits. And can you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure me from this, so that I do not suffer from this anymore and I'm granted relief from this? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the woman, O woman, most definitely I can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you will permanently be cured of this epilepsy. Till today is just managed but cannot be necessarily cured, but most definitely would have been cured completely with the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is one option you have. This is option one. And option number two is that if you are going to be patient and have sabr with the condition you are facing, فَإِنَّ مَوْعِدَكَ الْجَنَّةِ, then you are promised guaranteed Jannah. So that woman, she thought over this option, these two options, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, are you promising me Jannah if I continue to be patient with this trial? Rasulullah said, yes. Then she said, okay, I'm ready to be patient and I will continue to bear the suffering of this epilepsy. However, I have one request, and that is when I have these fits, sometimes I cannot control my body movements and my awra and my satar becomes exposed. That part of my body that should remain hidden, which is the entire body of the woman, exception of the face and the hands, it becomes exposed. My legs become exposed. And this is very hurtful for me because I do not want to expose myself. This is against my modesty, against my haya. So can you make dua at least that this does not happen? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, most definitely. Insha'Allah, we'll make dua that even when you suffer the epileptic fits, then your body will not be exposed. And she agreed to these terms, and she said, I will make sabr for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why many years later, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma pointed her out to his students and said, this is a woman who is guaranteed Jannah. This very much happens, very commonly happens, that sometimes when we see people who are physically challenged or otherwise handicapped or otherwise have something that is considered to be a defect, and if this thought that we are better than them, superior to them comes into our heart, into our mind, then this is a very grave sin. This is known as shamata. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا تظهر الشماتة لأخيك فيرحمه الله ويبتليك. Never ever show happiness over the loss or the suffering of any other person, any other Muslim believer, any brother or sister. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shower His mercy on the person who is afflicted with that condition, and in turn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inflict the same upon you in different trials you will have to face. Rather, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us a dua that we should recite, we should memorize and recite. But this dua, the etiquette of this dua, the adab of how to recite it, is we do not recite it in the face of that person. We do not recite it in an audible tone that they can hear us. But rather we silently recite this dua when we see someone who is physically challenged, mentally challenged. You say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi aafani mimma ibtalaka bihi wa faddalani ala kathirin mimman khalaqa tafdila. That all praise and thanks are due to that Allah. Aafani mimma ibtalaka bihi. Who has given me afiyah and safety, and He has saved me and protected me from that test and trial that He has inflicted upon you. That test that you are going through, Allah has saved me from that predicament. وَفَضَّلَنِي عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقَ تَفْضِيلًا. And He has given me preference over many of His creation. So whatever blessing we are enjoying, the physical health and mental health we are enjoying, this aql that we take for granted, this mind, this brain we take for granted, is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we see those who are suffering. And never for a moment we consider ourselves to be better than them. Rather, we should go out of our way to help them, take care of their needs. It is so sad, unfortunately, that instead of helping them in their needs, sometimes due to carelessness and due to not being aware of the results of our actions, I hope this is the reason, not due to intentionally trying to hurt anyone, but rather due to carelessness, I would assume, we do such actions that end up hurting others. For example, there is a very dear brother who would be very punctual in coming to the Masjid here in Jummah, and also coming to different programs in i'tikaf here, who would come in a motorized wheelchair. And he is completely paralyzed on the bottom half of his body. And when he would park his car, his van with his father in the handicapped parking, then there is a reason why those stripes are there. There's a handicapped parking, and then there's stripes next to the parking. Because there are different needs of these people, special needs that they have, that they require more space to come out. So they would be in his van, in the special van that they had outfitted, there would be a machine that would slide out his wheelchair from inside, and it would bring it out, and it would bring it down to the ground, so then he could use his motorized wheelchair. Because he did not have a huge ramp, rather there was a machine that would bring his wheelchair out, and it would descend down to the ground. It had a lift in it, a lift gate, like we have in trucks. But on many occasions, our very capable, physically able brothers, in their rush to catch the Jama'ah, they would come and they would park their cars on the striped area right next to the handicapped place. So he was not able to take his wheelchair out. So this is our responsibility, this is my duty today in this khutbah that we are doing, to talk about activities of Muhsen, to point this out. This is one way where the infrastructure is there, the designation for that handicapped parking is there, the stripes are painted there. But if you are going to abuse it and not use it, then it becomes difficult. Now if he wants to open his lift gate, it will scratch the whole car. It will destroy the car next to him. But he said that even though they are not considerate of the special needs person who is parked here, we will not scratch their car. But Mufti, I would like to bring it to your attention, Imam, that this is the suffering I face. So we are making it more difficult for people to come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about such people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there is no one who is there is no greater injustice or dhulm or oppression than this. Allah says, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا. That who can be a bigger zalim, who can do a greater injustice than the one who prevents people from coming to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if through our actions anyone is being prevented from coming to the house of Allah and is finding difficulty, then this is a very, very major crime we need to be aware of. So we should be cognizant of that. Never block the fire lanes. Never block the lanes where people are next to the handicapped parking. If we ourselves are not handicapped or physically have any difficulty, then not to park. Take a few extra steps, but this will be rewarding in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single step that you take towards the house of Allah, you receive a good deed and a sin will be forgiven. Our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we have the aqidah and we believe that he was ma'soom, he was divinely protected from committing sins. He never intentionally committed any sin in his life. He is ma'soom min al-saghair wal-kabair, from minor sins and major sins. قَبْلَ النُّبُوَّةِ وَبَعْدَهَا, before prophethood and after prophethood. His every action is an example for the ummah. So he never committed any sin knowingly, intentionally, with evil intention, with evil desire. However, there are certain times in his life where he made judgments which were not 100% in line with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. A mistake in judgment. And then we make mistakes in judgment too. But the difference is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never allowed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to continue to remain on that. but rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would immediately correct Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, such that his final action would always be 100% in accordance with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the difference. Whereas by no means are we guaranteed for any divine intervention and correction or revelation upon us. We may, in most times, we continue to remain in the error and continue the mistake till the end. That is a huge difference between us and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One such example where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a mistake in judgment, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about it in the Quran, is when there was a blind Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu ta'ala an. And he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was in a private meeting with the leaders of the Quraysh. And these leaders of the Quraysh were a very tough group of people to deal with. This was Abu Sufyan, who much later became Muslim, radiyallahu anh, but the majority of these leaders never became Muslim. Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt, Nadhr ibn al-Harith, Walid ibn al-Mughira, Utba, Shayba, Ubay ibn Khalaf. These are the hardcore mushrikeen leaders. As ibn Wa'il. So they did not want to listen to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They never granted him audience. They were always opposed to even hearing his message, and were actively opposing it. With a lot of negotiations and a lot of efforts, they said, we don't want to sit with all of these despicable, lowly people that sit around you. Ittaba'aka al-ardhalun, as the Qur'an Nuh said. Lowly people have followed you, we don't want to sit with these slaves. With Bilal and Ammar ibn Yasir and Khabbab bin Arat, we don't, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. We don't want to sit with these people. If you want to talk to us, if you are so insistent on having one meeting, then we have to have an exclusive meeting where none of your people will be there. It will be a meeting of just the nobles, the high class people. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not want any dunya from them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not want any material gain from them. He had no ulterior motive. His motive was one and one only, that if they accept Islam, then they can be a means of the rest of the Quraysh accepting Islam. And if the Quraysh accepts Islam, then they are the most respected tribe in the Arabian Peninsula. The remaining tribes will enter the fold of Islam. So with this motive of spreading Hidayah, which is his mission and his job, his responsibility, that's why he agreed to their terms. He said, okay, we'll have an exclusive meeting only for the leaders of the Quraysh. No one else will be allowed. And he was engaged in this meeting, talking to them after so many negotiations, finally had the opportunity to speak his heart to them and invite them with ultimate sincerity, hoping for their guidance. And lo and behold, what happens? There's an interruption in this. Who comes in? Abdullah ibn Maktoum, radiyallahu ta'ala an, who is already a believer, who is already a Muslim, who is already a reciter of the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So he had some minor fiqh question, some issue, some masala, how do I fulfill this need? How do I fulfill, how do I make ibadah, for example? Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was engaged in these high level talks. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the story in the Quran. Abasa wa tawalla. That he frowned. Abasa means the Nabi referring to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abasa, he frowned, he made a face. Wa tawalla, and he turned his back. An ja'ahu al-a'ma, when the blind man came upon him. Because an ja'ahu al-a'ma, because the blind man came. A'ma is the blind one, referring to Abdullah ibn Maktoum. And then Allah says, وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى أَوْ يَذَّكَّرُ فَتَنْفَعَهُ الذِّكْرَى. What do you know, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regarding this blind person? You turn your face away from him. لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. He is the one who is purified. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising this blind Sahabi and saying, he is the purified one. And whatever advice you give him, لَعَلَّهُ يَذَّكَّرُ, he will take heed from whatever you will say, and he will yakhsha, and he will fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amma man istaghna, the one who thinks that he does not need you, he is, istighna means to regard yourself superior to others and not feel that you have any need. The one who says that, I'm independent of you, I don't require you, I don't need your guidance. Those people who are having that attitude, فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. then you are going after those people. You are running after those people who don't care about your message. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَكَّى وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى. And on the other hand, the one who is running towards you, seeking guidance from you, وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, and he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then why are you turning away from him? Why are you distracted? Why do you feel that is interruption? So this is one occasion where may Allah protect and guide us and keep us on the correct understanding. Some of the scholars, some writers, I would not call them scholars, but some writers, they have written very wrong things regarding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have attacked the honor of our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to make the matter clear while keeping the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam intact. And because what happens is, basically, al-mar'u yaqisu ala nafsihi. A person, he passes judgments regarding other people based on how he judges himself and what actions he does. If a person himself is guilty of crimes, then he will think others are also guilty of the same crime. If a person himself is striving to be good, then that person will have good thoughts about others. So at this occasion, people, na'udhu billah, equated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with other worldly leaders and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na'udhu billah, the following statement is incorrect. It's naqlul kufri laysa bi kufrin. I'm narrating a statement of kufr to reject that kufr, not to believe in it. They say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reprimanded and corrected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he was so busy with the worldly rich people and he did not pay attention to the poor blind person. So this was wrong what he did. Therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala corrected him and said, this is not how your behavior should be in the surah. So this is a very wrong interpretation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did correct Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and did tell him, why did you frown? Because that is in the ayah itself. We cannot escape that. But the reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was paying more attention to those rich, influential leaders was not because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted any financial gain from them. On many occasions, they gave him the best offers possible that could never be refused. They said to him, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will gather all the money in Makkah and we will make a fund and grant you the entire fund and ensure that you will be the richest man in Makkah. That's one offer. If you want that. Number two, we will give you the most beautiful girls of Makkah for you to marry as many as you want. There is no restriction on 4, any number of women you want. Number three, we will all agree together and we will order a crown and have a coronation ceremony and make you the united king of Makkah. Right? So there's hubbul mal, love of wealth. They had the offer of wealth. Then the shahwa, physical shahwa. They had a many number of girls you want. Then there's something called hubbul jah, love of power. Like our president now, Donald Trump. What is his salary? $0 or $1. So he did not run to become president because he wanted to make more money. He's going to become richer or directly at least, he will not get any paycheck from the government, make more money as a president. He doesn't want any money. This is a different sickness called hubbul jah, love of power. It's different from love of wealth. So if you want to be powerful, we'll make you king of Makkah. All of these offers, and the only thing you have to do is you have to give up da'wah and speaking about la ilaha illallah. So Rasulullah ﷺ rejected all of these offers. What did he say? If you bring the sun from the sky and put it in my right hand, and you bring the moon from the sky and put it in my left hand, I will never give up this da'wah towards kalimah. So he was not going after the wealth. So this whole interpretation that is given by some people is absolutely wrong. Rather, Rasulullah ﷺ's idea was that these elders of the community, these influential people, their matter is a matter of Jannah versus Jahannam. If they die without Islam and Iman, they will die on shirk, they will enter into the fire of Jahannam. And if they accept Islam, they are granted guidance, then they will enter Jannah. So their issue and problem is greater. This blind Sahabi, by the way, why did he interrupt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It's because he is blind. He did not know, he did not see. If he had eyesight, he would have seen how engaged Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and he would have naturally been intelligent enough not to disrupt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the reasons why he disrupted Rasulullah's meeting is because he himself couldn't see. And Rasulullah said, this person is already a believer, he's already a diehard follower, and he has a minor issue. It is not a matter of his najah, salvation versus destruction. So therefore, if I answer his question later, it is not going to be a big deal. And with great difficulty, I got this meeting set up, and now everything will be destroyed. Because these people, what are they going to say? If I start paying attention to Abdullah ibn Maktoum, they're going to get up and leave. They're going to say, this is exactly what you said. You only worry about these poor people. So that's why he was he turned his face and frowned. So this was his reasoning. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him no. Allah ta'ala corrected him and said, how you should make your judgment of who deserves your time is not based on the nature of the problem. You are thinking, oh Rasulullah, the one who has a bigger problem deserves more attention, first attention. The one who has a smaller problem deserves second attention. Don't make that the basis. Rather, the basis should be who has more desire. Who has desire for guidance. Amma man istaghna, the one who doesn't have any desire, who says, I don't need your guidance, then they don't deserve your time as well. And the وَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى, the one who's running towards you and seeking guidance, they deserve your time. So your distribution of time should be on the principle of talab. The one who has more desire receives first place attention. The one who has less desire receives less place. So this was the ayat in the Quran which shows that we should give full attention and respect to those who might be physically challenged, and if they have the desire to learn the deen. So therefore, just as a final reminder, many of the brothers and sisters have come in late. We spoke in the beginning regarding Muhsen, this great organization that is raising awareness about the needs of our brothers and sisters who have special needs and who are either physically challenged or mentally challenged. And these are very commonly found in our societies, in our communities, but they do not receive that love and understanding that is deserved. Many times, instead of helping them through our carelessness, we are actually making their lives difficult. So I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce this group, and they have a booth set up in the lobby. We can gain more information about them, find out about their activities, and support them, inshallah. And at a personal level, we should always be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these blessings that we have, and recognize that those who are challenged, is not a sign of an adhab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, this is an opportunity for them to gain proximity and closeness to Allah. Man ubtuliya fi habibatayh, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who is tested regarding the two beloved blessings, fasabara, and he is patient, then the iwad and the reward for that is al-jannah itself. And the scholars explain this hadith, the two beloved blessings are referring to the two eyes. Whoever is blind and will be patient over the blindness, then they will be rewarded with Jannah itself, nothing less than Jannah. So therefore, these people who are challenged are very special people. Allah is giving them a test, and the vast majority of them are being patient, so they will be rewarded with high levels in Jannah. We should have honor for them and never look down upon them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who help them in their needs. And if we have such ones in our family who are also going through such trials, if you have children, for example, which is the greatest difficulty for the parents to see the children in such condition, then we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's special help is with us. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. Verily Allah is with those who observe patience. May Allah ta'ala give us tawfiq to make amal. Let us perform sunnah, inshallah.